Exciting times. It's episode 2 of the Escort van here at Trucking Sounds, and developments have been made. But before we get into episode 2, here's a quick recap of what we did in episode 1.
So I'm in here with a wire brush, just going over the top of this, and as you can see, that's all coming off.
That's Minecraft music, isn't it?
I don't know, I'm an adult.
So yeah, as you've just seen, the van is fully sound deadened, and in the meantime, off camera, while I've just had a few spare minutes, I've cracked on and sound deadened both the side doors, as I didn't do that in the last video, but we've still got a little bit more sound deadening to do. That involves sound deadening under the bonnet. Ant and I thought, why not do it? We've got nothing to lose in sound deadening under the bonnet other than maybe 4 or 5 sheets of sound deadening, and hopefully it will help just reduce the general engine noise, because you can hear a lot of engine noise inside there. We've also got an electric window kit and a new heater motor as well to sort out some of the issues which we're facing inside the van. Now, sound deadening in the bonnet will only be a very small portion of this episode, as the rest of the episode we're going to look at the build process in the van, as that's what really is the interesting, that's the more fruity stuff, that's what you guys want to see and what we need to crack on with. So far on the build process, we've got these door pods made that fit lovely into the original door card, and part of the reason why we've done or are going to do the electric window conversion kit is around here is where the window handle would go, and as you can see, it would just get in the way. There's no way we could fit those 2 SPL 8-inch drivers in here with a handle in the way. We're also going to have some of those crazy loud SPL bullet tweeters in the top here. Got these adapters made that will slot in there. They just need obviously tidying up, and there's another one on the door pod, so they're all ready to go pretty much. They just need a bit of tidying up, and those need trimming, and then they can go in the door card, and that's our door build's almost near enough done. As I mentioned, the doors are now sound deadened, which is a lot better. They were really, really resonant before, and as obviously you already know, the back is really solid. The old centre console was cracked, so we've got a new one. We've got a new radiator brace, because this one is, well, there's only half of it there, it's rusted away. We've got an electric window kit, a new clock to go in the dashboard because that doesn't work, and that new heater motor because ours is either off or fully on. And given that there's no aircon in this van, currently in the hot summer weather, having hot air being blasted at you at full pelt isn't particularly pleasant. Now, in the back, we can only apologise for not capturing this on camera, as Simon, our fabricator, has been in the meantime, and he's been cracking on with these bits at a weekend when no one else is here. So unfortunately, I've missed getting content on this. However, this is a base tunnel with room for 10 12-inch SPL show subs. I'm not sure what's going to go in the top there, actually. Probably like a nice roof lining. We're going to have a bit of glass on the back here so you can see through. But I won't give too much away because we can wait for that later on in the episode. Now, as you can see, I've already started to take some of this off, and that's got to go. The bonnet looks fresh underneath, as the van has been resprayed, so that's ideal. We don't need to do too much cleaning up here. But listen. Oh my God. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, that could really benefit from sound deadening. That will make a huge difference. So I'm going to try and cover as much of this as possible. Just need to watch out that the sound deadening doesn't interfere with anything in here. I might even try and get this liner back on, but I think some, if not most of the clips have broken. It's to be expected. This thing is older than me. It's 25 years old, but in very good condition. I'm sure you all agree. I know there's a lot of you from episode 1 who are big fans of this Escort van. Someone actually commented, subscribed simply because you're rolling around in an Escort van. We love that. That is exactly the spirit here at Trucking Sounds. We love the Escort van, and we're going to love it 10 times more once it's all built out. So stay tuned, and we're going to crack on with episode 2. Let's get that bonnet deadened, and then I'll join you back with Simon so we can have a look at exactly what he's doing to go in the back of the van and how the build process is going to take shape. I've lost my trim removal tool. 1 second. Found it. It's just allowing me to pry these clips off in a more dignified manner, he says. I mean, my God, how many clips does this thing need? Let's get a roller, let's get a knife, let's get some sound deadening. I'll wait for Simon's alarm ringtone to stop going off in the background, and we'll sound deaden the bonnet. Now, the weekend that's just gone, I spent time with Trucker Tim at Monster Truck Nationals, and oh my God, what a show it was. But more so, thank you to all of you who have been watching the Fire Engine series and episode 1 of the Escort, and who came along and said hi, had a photo and had a chat. It was lovely to meet you all, so thank you very much, and thank you very much for subscribing and following our build series. We're really, really glad that you're all loving it. That's exactly what we want. And hopefully you're all loving the Escort series as much. And I'll say the same as what I say in the fire engine videos. If you've got any ideas of how we can make the Escort crazier, cooler, better, Simon's ringtone goes off every time. Then make sure you comment down below and tell us. We'd love to hear what you want to see us do to the Trucking Sounds Escort.
Sorry.
Right, folks, Simon is in the back of the Escort at the moment, just sanding down that base tunnel he's built in there, just to smooth off the edges and get it ready for the next step of the build. I, meanwhile, have been continuing with the Bonnet sound deadening. It's already made a big difference, especially when you tap from the other side. We should be able to now shut this and not have any interference at all from anything under the bonnet. Lovely. Cool. That bonnet's a lot heavier. You rejoin me about a week later and more progress has been made on the Trucking Sounds Escort van project. I went away for a little while and we've also had Benjineer's van in to sort out as well. So progress on the van on mine and Ant's behalf has been relatively static. However, we've had Simon, our fabricator, in making some extra bits to go inside the van and it's really taken shape. There's also more to come on the fire engine as well soon. I'll be filming with Benjineer, some more bits to go on there very soon. So stay tuned for that and subscribe if you haven't already. The seats are back out because it made accessing this end of the box easier, and look at that. But before we look at that, I'll show you the door builds. So the door builds are taking shape. They're obviously not complete or trimmed yet, but the bottom of those builds is pretty much done. And up here as well will be a tweeter, so we're going to have the Bullet SPL show tweeter in there, and then we've got the two 8-inch SPL show mid-range drivers to go in the bottom. They'll also act as mid-bass as well. Very big, very powerful, very loud drivers, and that door card will have to be nice and solid as well, so those door builders are really helping to brace that out. We've also given the van a little bit of TLC. It's now got electric windows rather than the winding windows. It's had a new heater blower motor put in there because that was either off or on fully, and it was blowing lots of leaves, as you can see up here, throughout. So we've cleaned that out and that's now working fine. And a little finishing touch, it's now got a GTI racing clock because the old one had packed up. So yeah, nice little touch we've got there in the van. Now what we have done is we've added a lot of weight to this. How much we've added I don't yet know, but that bonnet itself weighs an absolute ton since it's sound deadened. The way that bonnet crashed down after a sound deadening, it was just comical. But let's have a look in the back. So in the back, this is where Simon's work really starts to take shape. We've got 10 12-inch SPL show Hertz subwoofers in there. They're the same ones that we used in the Generation 1 version of our Mighty Magnum demo truck. These are absolutely just utterly crazy subwoofers. Super powerful, really, really brutal, powerful bass in there. And having 10 of them is going to shake the van like crazy, hence all of the sound deadening we did in the first episode. Simon's trimmed this in a nice white leather. So up here, we've got some lighting in there. I'll put a shot of it on screen now, but that all lights up blue to match the blue livery on the outside of the van. That will really illuminate these subwoofers when they're playing at shows. You'll see them bouncing up and down and they'll look absolutely fantastic. And this is all one big box, and we've got a nice panel to go in there, the other side, that you can look through from the sort of cabin area of the van, and you'll feel all of the bass blowing out there. Really, really excited to try that. And then to go on here, we're just awaiting a nice glass panel, actual glass rather than perspex, because perspex scratches, obviously it will rattle, it will shake about with the pressure from those subwoofers. That will go over there and create a really nice viewing angle from the back here, where you'll be able to stand and get all of the volume in your face and all of the bass in there as well. Remember, it's bass, not space. And down here on the floor, we've got these lovely curved shaped amp racks, which Simon has been hard at work this morning making, ready to mount all of the amplifiers on there. So the 4 channels to power the main speakers, and then the several mono amplifiers to power all of those 12-inch SPL show subwoofers. And last but not least, we mustn't forget the door builds for the rear doors on the van. So obviously on those rear doors, we want to have 3 of the 8-inch drivers and 2 tweeters. That's on each door, so that'll be absolutely insanely loud, just incredible volume levels. And these builds are taking place, they've been fiberglass, so they're nice and strong. They need another layer, I think, putting on them, and then they'll be ready to go on the back doors. And then the speakers can be mounted in there, so when you stood there, you've got all of that volume coming at you. And I'm not sure if I yet mentioned, but the amplifiers that we're going to be using are the CP4.800s. They are 4-channel amplifiers to power the main speakers, and then the CP1.2K. That's a 2,500 watt mono amplifier, which one of those will run 2 of these subwoofers currently. But I'm sure you'll all agree it's really taking shape nicely. It's an awesome looking van as well. From the comments on the fire engine video, there's clearly a lot of you out there who absolutely love this van and love it just as much as we do. And if you're enjoying the build series, make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be the first to find out when we upload a new update video on the Tracking Sounds Escort van or the fire engine. So progress is being made on the Escort van. This morning I've just finished filming another video which will already be up on our YouTube channel. That's a lovely TCAB audio build, so make sure you go watch that. There'll be a little card in the top screen if I remember to put it there. Simon's finished making this big panel, which is essentially going to be the port to the ginormous subwoofer box in here. And that panel on the floor will be situated around here. Hence why it's trimmed in the nice white leather, so it will really, really bring to life the glow of our lights, which obviously you've already seen by this point of the video. And then the bass will come firing through that big hole in it and absolutely blast you while you're sat in the 2 front seats, which currently still aren't in. So the updates in this part of the video, you've probably noticed, are a little bit sort of chopped up. That's where Simon is doing all the fabrication work on this. So while I've been building some sub boxes this afternoon, I've left him to crack on with building these panels to go on the back. Obviously, as I mentioned, there's some glass to go in there. We still haven't got that, so that will go in due course. But he's now trimmed all of these panels so they all fit in there nice and clean. It's really starting to take shape in there now. We've got a new panel of glass, as unfortunately the last one cracked when we were trying to put it in the van. Not the end of the world, at least it was replaceable. Now the amp racks that I mentioned earlier in the video, those curve shaped pieces, they're now trimmed to match the rest of the van and the front of the interior, and they're trimmed in this nice suede, as you can see. Lovely finish on there, let's get some nice striping on that. And we've also got the different panels as well that the amplifiers will sit on. So these will then go onto those amp rack pieces, so we've got amplifiers displayed really nicely. And just like that, the glass is now in. I have to apologise for any background noise, there's lots of things going on again today. It's just projects every day, which is really nice. It's a good place to be. As you can see, that's all glued in there, and other than reflection obviously on camera, this looks super, super crystal clean. And obviously these projects do take time, but we want these videos to really show that, to show how much work there is involved in building an SPL style van or any type of demo or show vehicle, because there's so much to do, but there's so much really cool, interesting stuff that a lot of you will have never seen behind the scenes before. So we want to make sure we show you as much of that as possible, because that's what you guys want to see, and it's what makes this so, so exciting. Now back in the wood room, there's also building going on. Simon's currently making these panels with these little holes drilled in them, all perfect to size, so we can fit all of the cables through. That's a representation of just how many cables we're going to have running through the van to power the different amps and the various different speakers in there. And these will all, or this panel at least, will keep that nice and tidy, and we'll start to build on the back of that block that I've showed you in the back of the van. So that panel that I just showed you in the wood room is going to be part of this power block assembly at the back here, where we're going to have batteries and all of the cables, keeping things nice and tidy. You can see we've got very heavy gauge cable in the back here to make sure that it can withstand the amount of current draw that this system is going to have. So half an hour later, and the glass is properly glued in. The panels that I showed you over on the trim bench and now around the glass, so that's looking nice and complete. And those amp rack pieces, as I said, will go round here, so we've got them all trimmed properly, so they're trimmed on the back. Even if you're not really even going to see around there, it's just about making sure everything's nice and professional, tidy and neat. And these are going to sit in here, and then we'll have our range, our field of amplifiers all around the centre here, and then our cabling and power at the bottom. So as you can see, 2 of those Hertz Cento amplifiers are now mounted to these various mounting plates on the amp rack. And Simon's just running in power and ground cable to them, which, as you can see, runs in that tunnel underneath there. I just thought I'd show you this before he gets to the rest of them in, and we've got our RCAs there which will be used for signal, and luckily we can split these along the way to stop us from having to run so many RCAs but also use splitters. The splitters can sometimes be a tad unreliable, and we want to make this build as reliable as possible. Obviously all builds do require maintenance, but we want to eliminate any unnecessary maintenance. And those power cables will come down through this carefully drilled gap, and then they all come down to the bottom where I said earlier in the video, obviously power will be distributed. So that allows us to keep all of the amplifiers looking really neat, all the cables neatly and tidily tucked in. The cables will run seamlessly underneath all of that, and then at the bottom we end up with cables that are really easy to manage and take full control of. Because obviously when you've got lots of cables like that, the last thing you want is them to be all bundled together in a really disorganized fashion. We need them to be nice and organized, because if we ever need to do any individual bits of maintenance to that build, it's really easy to trace back our cables and find out exactly what we need to change. So Simon's now put 4 of the amplifiers in there. These are all mono amps, so these are all for the subwoofer system, and as you can see the wires are channeled neatly underneath there, as I mentioned earlier, but the power and ground is plugged into those amps. All of our signal based wiring is also tucked in there. Obviously our outputs and things like the gains and everything will have to be set still. He's now currently piecing together the panel that will go across the front here, but you can see now how this is starting to take shape. Now we do need to wait for more amplifiers to arrive, as we don't actually have any more to put in there for now. We ended up using one of the monos that we got into stock for this van in a recent install to see just how good it is. It's fantastic. So much power. As I mentioned, it's a 2,400 watt mono. It's rated at 1,200 watts RMS. That's continuous power, which is more than enough for what we need per individual subwoofer. However, each of these amplifiers we are going to run 2 subwoofers off. Now, although they're rated at 2 ohms and not rated at 1 ohms, 2 of these subs together run at 1 ohm. However, they should be relatively stable due to the impedance rise in a box of this size, so we should be okay. Just a little bit of box trickery and playing around with the acoustics in there and playing around with the air volumes to ensure that our subwoofers sound and work really well with the amplifiers. So I apologise that the updates in this video are now getting a little bit more chopped up, but obviously progress is being made in the background of other things going on here at Truck & Sounds. But Simon has finally got one of the doors fully complete, so let's have a look at exactly what it comprises of. At the top here we've got a small custom mount that's housed in the Hertz ST35 Neo. It's a bit of a different name to what I'm used to here at Truck & Sounds. That's one of the SPL show range tweeters, and these big bullet tweeters, that will just be ridiculously loud. And then at the bottom of the door, 2 8-inch drivers. These are the SV200 Neos, again part of the Hertz SPL show range, and they've been built onto this really nice pod which is trimmed in a black leather to match the rest of the texture and colour styling of the door, and that all fits in really nicely, and it looks very SPL-ish, but without being too over the top. There's nothing too crazy about this, and that's exactly what we wanted these doors to be. They look custom, look cool, but not too crazy and in your face, although the sound will be crazy and probably quite in your face as well. And obviously the door skin, as I showed you I think earlier on in this episode, or episode 1, is fully sound deadened, and this side of the door as well, and we'll go have a look at the one the other side. So you can see there's been some sound deadening rolled on this piece as well, so that door is now heavily deadened on both sides, which is very necessary given the power and size of the speakers going on the door. And this will have the exact same, the ST35 tweeter up here and the SV200 mid-range / mid-bass woofer drivers at the bottom. And now Simon's working putting in these custom side panels that fit nice and flush and round off the body, so they make this section at the front of the van look similar to how it does at the back where the amplifiers are. This is acting as our subwoofer box port, and obviously inside there are 10 12-inch Hertz SPL show subs, all in that custom box. They're illuminated with blue at the top, which I showed you earlier in the episode. And recently we've had a big delivery of all of the rest of the amplifiers we need to complete the amp rack in the back and get everything powered in the van. See, this is all in the aim of being at Truckfest Newark in just 2 weeks' time. The build process has had to really speed up on the van to get it ready in time for that, but we're super excited to showcase it there. So as I said, Remember, if you go in, make sure you come along and say hi, get a picture with the escort van, come and have a listen, take a video of it, tag us on social media. We want to see what all of you guys think to it and hear what you think to it, because it's going to sound absolutely insane. Obviously, we haven't fired it up yet, so we don't know how it sounds, but we know it's going to sound absolutely crazy, and we're looking forward to seeing many of you there as well. What are you doing here with that voltage meter?
Just putting it up the right way round. Because I put it up the wrong way round.
And the reason we're fitting a voltage meter just here is it will look nice and clean, and what's an SPL build without a voltage meter? No, but seriously, it will actually allow us to monitor the voltages carefully, as obviously this is going to be a very power intensive system, so it's important that we can check that the voltages in the system are all up to speed and where they need to be. And this polished power bar system is going to be absolutely mega, having all of our powers hooked onto there and all of the grounds down the bottom. That is going to look super cool, and I think we're going to put a little bit of glass over here as well, just to give that some cover and protection, just like this. So that's the smooth curved side panel that I've just mentioned, and that's going to go in along there, and there'll be another one to go in this side, so it will make this panel look and fit all flush around the van and just tidy up and complete this front piece of the interior. And this piece going along here that Simon's currently building is for our batteries to go. I know, obviously, given the current draw involved in a build like this, we need more than just the standard battery at the front. So we're going to use this as a bank to fit our several batteries on, and that will allow us to get safe power delivery to all of the components at the back. And we're not sure if we're going to need to add any batteries at the rear to help break that up, but what we do know is that eventually the alternator will need changing on the van as well, because it's going to have a lot of work to do charging all of these up and keeping them running. However, these batteries are going to allow for the amount of current draw that's involved in this build, and like I say, we may put some at the back just in case these aren't enough. However, fingers crossed these are. So Ant and I have now got the centre console back in, and there's a switch underneath that little cubby that we can press, and that will turn on and off the ambient LED lighting inside the sub box. And at the back, all of the amplifiers on the main amp rack are fitted, and we've removed all the covers on the top of those just to make it easier when we come to scoping those and getting them all properly set up. We've got an extra amplifier which makes it an odd number, which wouldn't look right in here, so we've decided to put that one away underneath there, and there's a mounting plate for that. But most importantly, our power block is now really starting to take shape. You see all those cables neatly woven in there. We've got all of the positives on the top and all of the grounds on the bottom. That looks really, really impressive. So obviously all of the power is now connected up, all the amps are connected. Simon's wired up these batteries in the front, and it is finally time to connect the positive wire, and we're going to get a cool spark.
Well, that was a letdown. Boring.
That was really disappointing. We were expecting a good old spark.
You get more off a 5-channel when you did that.
Well, we thought with 12, 13 amplifiers in the system that we'd get a good old spark off the battery, but we didn't. However, the good news is we've got power to the amplifiers. They all booted up there, and they are all starting as they should do, which is a good sign. That means all of this wiring, this huge field of wiring, is all correct. Not that we doubted it would be, but there's just an awful lot of wiring in there. It's always a good sign when you've wired that all up and it boots up first time. So these orange lights on here all indicate that these amplifiers are up and powered, including that one down there. Now these are new Hertz Cento amps, as I mentioned. We've got 2 4-channels down the bottom here. The rest of them are the new Cento monos, super powerful, very good quality amplifiers. But because of fitting a third amplifier in the middle was going to be a bit of a problem, we've used a Hertz Melee Power 4 just to go in that gap to power the other speakers that we need to, as that has ample amount of guts to keep up with the rest of the system. And now Simon's about to set up his oscilloscope to scope each and every one of these amplifiers, and that means that he'll put the oscilloscope on them, we'll play our test tracks through them, and he'll turn the gains up on each individual amplifier to make sure that we're getting the most out of each one, but with zero distortion. Simon is now working through scoping all of those amps, as there's plenty of them, but he's done a little bit of adjustment to wiring at the front here as well. And I'll come back to you once all those amplifiers are scoped, because we'll actually be able to get some sound through the van. We also need to sort that door as well, but for the meantime, I've got to shoot off head over to TTHQ to see the one and only Bengineer. Content coming soon. I almost forgot to mention Simon has also now worked on the rear door. So these panels are on there. The only thing that needs doing with these is them trimming and then the actual driver's mounting in there. So these three are going to have the exact same as what's in the front doors, and these two slots are going to have the same tweeters as the front doors. This is going to be brutally loud when those doors are open. Every single amplifier in the van is also now set up, scoped, and the crossover points are set, which means we've got sound, but that will come in episode 3. And so will this truck at Truckfest. This truck behind me is Matt Westie's Wrecker, and that's going to be with us at Truckfest Newark, which we're really looking forward to seeing you there. But that just about rounds off episode 2 of the Trucking Sounds Escort van. So if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and smash that notification bell so you can be the first to find out when we upload a brand new video. We really cannot wait to show you this at Newark. I don't know if episode 3 will be out on our YouTube channel before Newark or not, but this one should be. So we hope you've enjoyed the episode, and we will see you at Newark. And stay tuned for episode 3, because if you aren't able to make it to Newark, there'll be a sound clip in episode 3. Hint, this thing is absolutely ridiculous. We'll see you in the next one.